Firstly, Mr. President, I would like to thank you for accepting our request. So tomorrow it's a big day for the Union. We're having the State of the Union, and the big question is whether you are satisfied from the performance, let's say, by the European Commission of this year. We were in front of very big challenges this year. We almost had a Brexit. We've got an upcoming referendum in the UK. So
we are perhaps in the most difficult situation of the European Union since decades. And on which is concerning Greece, we have temporarily managed the problem, but without growth and employment, the problem is not solved in Greece. We need investments. And if you look to the role of the Commission, compare the role of the Commission in 2015 with the role of the Commission in 2014. Jean-Claude Juncker and I, we were opponents during the election campaign, but after the election we agreed that one of the goals must be to put the communitarian institutions, Parliament and Commission, together in the center of political action and look to the whole debate in Greece. One of the key players is the President of the Commission. That means we achieved to bring the Commission back where the institution should be, in the core of European policy. And therefore I found, this is my second answer to your question, it very inappropriate, even insulting, that some governments attacked the Commission for their own deficits. The Commission and the European Parliament asked during years and years and years, and even 2 months ago, Juncker suggested to the European Council of Heads of States and Government the distribution of 40,000 as a role model for a broader distribution of refugees. And who didn't decide, who didn't agree? National governments. To blame the European Commission or the European Union for the incapacity of national governments to manage a global problem, this is absolutely unfair.
We mentioned Greece, and the question is whether the European Parliament will accept Mr. Tsipras' proposal for having the European Parliament more involved in Greece's program.
The letter of Alexis Tsipras was reflecting a request of the European Parliament already made by the Parliament and already decided. In the so-called 2-pack and in the 6-pack are already some articles foreseeing a stronger involvement of the European Parliament. And in the so-called Troika-Bericht of the European Troika report of the European Parliament was at the end of the last mandate, the Parliament requested exactly, with a broad majority, what Alexis Tsipras wrote now in his letter. And I will go ahead with the proposals. I discussed it already last week with the committee, with the group chairman in the Conference of Presidents of the European Parliament, and we will discuss now how we can involve, first of all, the Commission to a stronger, and bring the Commission to a stronger democratic accountability for all actions the Commission undertakes as a part of the so-called institutions. And I got a mandate from the Conference of Presidents to negotiate with Juncker about a binding structure of involvement of the Parliament.
And then migrant crisis. A very big challenge again for the Union. I've heard your statements the last few days, and I must admit that they are in line with the values and principles of the EU. What is your message, though, to those leaders in the EU that their statements are not that in line with these values?
What we are facing now is exactly what will happen if those will win a majority who say, we don't need the European Union, let's make the things on a national level. It is always better to do it nationally. These ultra-nationalists who even play one country against another and destroy the common spirit of unity in Europe, if they will win, we will have what we are facing in the migrant crisis, in the migration crisis now. And therefore, I stick to the idea that not national interest and not a particular, partially nationalist approach is the answer to a global challenge. The Secretary General of the United Nations rightly mentioned some days ago that migration is a global problem, not only a European or a Middle East or a Mediterranean. It is a global problem. But global problems, you can't give national answers, and therefore Europe must give a common answer. I met, for example, to make it very practical last week, the Prime Minister of Hungary. I disagreed entirely with the methods of the Hungarians and his government, but I said to him, look, if you distribute, let's take a figure, 500,000 refugees amongst 507 million Europeans, this is the number of inhabitants of the 28 member states. This is no problem. If you concentrate 500,000 people in a few of the countries, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. And therefore we need a parameter how to distribute. This is the number of inhabitants in relation to the GDP of a country and counting those refugees who are already in the country. And if you take these three elements, Hungary, for example, would get an enormous relief compared with the situation which the country is today. Therefore, instead of mobilizing emotions and ideological arguments, it's better to come to common, pragmatic solutions.
Will the EU end up in a solution to stop the problem from its roots as well, or will we stay in some kind of management of the whole situation? We
need both. We need the management of the dramatic situation. We need it not only by humanitarian reasons, we need it also to avoid a confrontation between citizens in the European member states and the refugees. And that's why I mentioned the figure. If you concentrate it in some countries, people feel overwhelmed and not comfortable. Mm. And this is always a situation where the most vulnerable, and these are the refugees, pay the highest price. Therefore, to distribute them amongst all the member states is much easier. Therefore, we need management of the situation. But we have to fight also the situation in the Middle East, especially causing this refugee crisis. We need sooner or later a strong debate about Syria, Iraq, and how to fight against those terrorist gangs who are terrorizing people who have the only chance to escape from them to come to us.
And I think we are late in setting that debate.
We are not only late, the European countries and some other countries, the United States of America, for example, made mistakes, let's be honest. I give you an example. A donors conference decided to support Jordan and Lebanon with 7 billion euros because these two countries have different figures than we are. Lebanon or Jordan's country with 4 million inhabitants, and they have more than or around 2 million refugees in the country. And they are really at the limit of what they can do for the refugees. Therefore, a donors conference decided to give to the country 7 billion euros. Until today, around 2.5 billion are paid. This is the reason why they can't can't provide the refugees in their country with the necessary support. And that's another reason why these people say, if we can't be protected here, we go directly to Europe. That shows how counterproductive it is to promise something and to believe you have not to stick to your promises. You pay afterwards a higher price.
And lastly, but not least, Cyprus is undergoing a strong negotiation progress right now. Hope is there. And I wanted your message to both leaders in Cyprus.
Do whatever you can is my message to both. To the President of the Republic, I'm in close contact with Mr. Anastasiadis regularly, and also to Mr. Akinci. They should now use the momentum. There is a window of opportunity. And I'm absolutely convinced that if these two men and their advisors and the two parts of population on the island, support them, and we will have an agreement in Cyprus that would show for all of us in Europe that even in deep crisis, Europe has always moments where we can show that with goodwill, peace and long-lasting stability is possible. Cyprus could become not only a signal of hope for the country, it could be a morning star for the whole European Union.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.